The senator sponsoring Bill C-293, the Pandemic Prevention and Preparedness Act, openly admitted her ignorance about the very details of the bill that she's pushing forward when pressed for debate, revealing a disturbing lack of awareness regarding its broad implications for the health and well-being of all Canadians, showing Canadians just how awful their return on investment over her salary really is. The controversial private members bill put forward by anti-meat activist and radical vegan Liberal MP Nathaniel Erskine Smith, called Bill C-293, the Pandemic Prevention and Preparedness Act, is quietly making its way through the Senate as I bring you this report. Rumblings had swirled on social media that the bill passed, but that is not exactly what happened. Instead, the same senator that brought us the Pandemic Observance Day moved a motion to bring this ominous bill to second reading. On October 22nd, Senator Marie-Françoise McGee moved the bill into its second reading in the Senate. She gave a brief speech using only a fraction of her allotted 45 minutes for the task, which is surprising given the broad nature of this bill that has been heavily criticized for not being just about public health, but rather a thinly veiled attack on property rights, food choices, and ultimately personal freedom. That includes the freedom to make choices independent of the state, freedom of movement, freedom to hold and voice a minority opinion, freedom to farm, freedom to not be surveilled under the guise of public health, and the list quite literally goes on and on. We've all heard the mantra before, never let a good crisis go to waste. And shockingly, this senator in her opening remarks calls times of crisis an opportunity before quoting World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab's bestie, Yuval Noah Harari, and then regurgitating World Health Organization Disase X talking points.
L'auteur Yuval Noah Harari le soulignait. Chaque crise est aussi une opportunité. C'est ainsi que les créations du ministère de la Santé après la pandémie de la grippe espagnole en 1919 et celle de l'Agence de la santé publique du Canada après le SRAS en 2004 découlent des crises sanitaires que notre pays a traversées. Donc, le projet de loi C-293 est une réponse législative aux recommandations de la vérificatrice générale. C'est aussi une réponse aux critiques soulevant les lacunes de préparation du Canada pour affronter la dernière pandémie. Je veux souligner l'engagement du député de Beaches East York sur ce sujet qui me tient à cœur. Je ne veux pas être prêtresse de malheur, mais les pandémies sont cycliques. Ce n'est pas une question de si, mais une question de quand se produira la prochaine. J'espère que ce projet de loi recevra promptement votre appui afin d'y être étudié dans ses menus détails en comité dans les plus brefs délais. Je souhaite que le Canada se tienne toujours prêt à protéger sa population et soit un exemple pour le monde entier en la matière.
Harari is a controversial figure whose startling rhetoric includes advocating for heightened digital surveillance, even monitoring devices under your skin. He labels large segments of the population as useless in light of the upcoming artificial intelligence revolution, positioning bioengineered humans as superior to these useless eaters.
The emergence of a new upgraded elite of superhumans enhanced by bioengineering and brain-computer interfaces and things like that. And on the other hand, a new massive useless class, a class that has no military or economic usefulness and therefore also no political power.
Harari's solution is placating these useless ones with drugs and computer games.
And then the big political and economic question of the 21st century will be, what do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games. Keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
This is the kind of individual Senator McGee is quoting and further relying on World Health Organization scaremongering from Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus, who admitted himself that Disase X, a placeholder for future pandemics, serves as a research and development blueprint for fast-tracked, effective tests, vaccines, and medicines for the private sector. He says that this looming threat is not a matter of if, but when, and member states better be prepared to comply or else.
Especially the Disase X, attracting a lot of attention. And I hope you have seen in the social media. But it's not a new idea. The first time we used the terminology was in 2018. The discussions were in 2017. I was just new Director General. As you know, we annually list the emerging diseases. And MERS could be one, Zika, Ebola, those we know. But then we said, there are things that are unknown that may happen. And anything happening is a matter of when, not if. So we need to have a placeholder for that, for the disease we don't know that may come. And that was when we gave the name Disase X.
Conservative Senators Donald Neil Plett and Denise Batters attempted to seek clarification on the ambiguous wording on the Pandemic Act being coined the vegan bill, but embarrassingly, McGee said she intentionally avoided fact-finding details to sidestep the responsibility to propose solutions.
Vous savez comment ça se passe quand on doit inviter le processus pour inviter les témoins? Il faut inviter les bons témoins et ceux qui vont justement parler de leur industrie et de ce qu'ils font et de leur appréhension. Et à ce moment-là, avec eux, on peut trouver des solutions et avec nous autres qui allons réfléchir minutieusement là-dessus. Et c'est fait exprès que je peux apporter tous ces détails-là parce qu'en les apportant, il faudrait que moi-même, je propose des solutions. Et je ne les ai pas, ces solutions-là. Donc, c'est un fait exprès que je ne les ai pas apportées.
For context here, the entire purpose of the second reading is to give senators an opportunity to debate the core principles and concerns around a bill. Once the bill's sponsor puts forward a motion for second reading, intense and substantial discussions are supposed to occur. But because of McGee's complete disregard for the details, the opportunity for meaningful debate and discussion was squandered. Disturbingly, Canadian taxpayers foot the base salary for each Canadian senator at upwards of $169,600 per year, and this is the return for their investment. In her responses, it was very clear that McGee had no idea the broad scope and impact that this bill would have on the health and well-being of Canadians. Lawyer Lisa Myron previously joined me to discuss her concerns with this piece of legislation, which she called a coup.
Here we are reducing pandemic risk, right? Not by, looking into gain-of-function research, but by eating bugs. There you go, Canada. I want you to get mad. I want you to say, no, I'm not eating bugs to reduce pandemics. For public health, embedded with the WHO, passed by our Trudeau and Singh government, our Singh government. No coup in our country, no to Bill 293.
The bill is seizing the chance to promote a vegan agenda and totalitarian control under the guise of pandemic preparedness. McGee highlights in her opening speech by referencing the Auditor General Report 8 on pandemic preparedness, the glaring ineptitude displayed by the Public Health Agency of Canada and especially Chief Officer Theresa Tam throughout the last few years. Despite millions of dollars in wasted, expired personal protective equipment and Tam's failure to ensure the country's readiness for health emergencies, the agency seeks to increase control through sweeping legislation instead of facing disbandment and investigation for their disturbing mismanagement. Instead, Canadians now get to fund a brand new bureaucracy called Health Emergency Readiness Canada as a result. The failure to adequately prepare for and respond to health emergencies using pre-existing evidence-based plans raises serious questions about how these unelected health overlords and their ability to manage a coherent response, let alone dictate the future of our food and agricultural systems under the vague promise of pandemic prevention. Ultimately, debate on this bill was adjourned to a later date, so stay tuned. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. You can stay tuned at killtheveganbill.com. At that website, you can also send a form email to select senators telling them to kill this bill. All of that and more to support our work, go to killtheveganbill.com.